Welcome to I Drink Your podcast.
Oh gosh, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You leave me no choice. Here comes the smolder.
Wait, you like that?
No.
You don't like that?
No, I don't like that.
No, how about that? You like that?
A little better.
Bread makes you fat?
Does this count as annoying?
Just tell me what you want me to fuck!
Not you, and not you.
Okay, I think it's time to take off your clothes and jump me.
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool?
I drink your podcast. I drink it up!
Welcome to I Drink Your podcast 2010. This is Emily, and we have some special people with us today. My usual co-host, Ben, is here.
I am here.
Hi, Ben.
Just like Horton, here's a who.
Yes.
We are here. We are here.
That's what I expected.
It sounded like you were answering attendance.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And that voice was Matt, who's back with us after a while. Perfect. Thank you, Matt. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Well, we needed Matt here too, because he's our resident cosplay expert.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
How do you figure?
You know, because of costumes and shit, right?
So I take it Matt's returning.
Matt's on like every third episode until he bitches out and doesn't join us for him.
Yeah, and by cosplay expert, he's talking about like Halloween, I guess. Like all I do is like dress up with my dog, you know?
Actually, I could see that happening for sure. Our other voices that you may hear, we have Corey and Adrian from Culture Shocked. So, Corey, say hi.
Hello. I wear costumes in my private time.
Ooh. And Adrian, say hello.
Hey, I'm one half of the brother duo of Culture Shocked, and the other two are not related to us.
Thank God.
Welcome.
And we're so happy to have them here. So before we dive in, just want to plug, please rate us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of those kinds of things. We would really, really love those 5-star reviews. Ben just wants any feedback. Nah, we're amazing, and I'm going to stick with it.
We're still waiting for that number next to our 5 stars on Spotify to show that an actual number of people have rated us.
Which I
still haven't gotten
promise you, I have had like at least 20 of my friends like and subscribe and star. Like I don't fucking get it, but whatever. It's fine. Spotify.
But I've seen people on there with like 10 people have a number there. So
Exactly.
I'm not sure.
Exactly. They lied to me.
This is my first experience with I Drink Your podcast, but it kicks ass. I'm going to give it 5 stars.
All right.
Speaking of that,
you're leading somewhere.
That's our movie that we watched, and you can definitely stream it on HBO Max. But let's talk about getting drunk. Ben, what are you drinking?
Yeah. I got a red mist.
What's in your red mist?
Cranberry Splash Sierra Mist, not in season, didn't come out at Christmas, didn't have any, but I had to make my own. So I got Sierra Mist, vodka, grenadine, and watermelon UV.
Wow, that's... Okay, we're on two opposite ends.
It's really good.
So wait, can I ask you a question? How does Red Mist tie into this movie?
Red Mist is the name of the guy, isn't
it?
Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah.
Wait, were we supposed to watch this movie?
Oh boy.
I was like, McLovin is definitely Red Mist.
Adrian, what do you got?
I am drinking a Samuel Adams Summer Ale, not a sponsor.
Yet.
And I don't know how it ties into this movie, but, you know, when you're drinking alcohol, you feel like you can kick some ass. So that's all I got.
Love it.
We kicked those British people's ass in the Revolutionary War.
Yes,
we did. America.
Yeah.
Too soon, Ben.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Samuel Adams.
Yeah, he did it. He was there.
Okay.
I think he literally was there.
And Corey, what do you got?
I'm drinking a aged pure leaf raspberry. And
Okay.
Emily, it hits, girl.
Speaking of that, I have a hit girl myself.
Wow.
But it has
Nice.
some gin and lemon juice and purple crush, because why not?
Yeah.
Wow, if I didn't just get off work, I'd be so much more prepared with a better drink.
I wouldn't. Am I last?
You are last, Matt.
I have a bottle of beer. And I'm going to say it's the one that is the girl who breaks the bottle and tries to fend off that girl. And
Oh, yeah.
That's how it works.
The prostitute-looking girl in Razul's apartment.
I didn't want to make any assumptions. She could have been.
I will.
Corey, can you tell us about your podcast?
Yeah, we're just four aging millennials giving our outdated opinions on anything pop culture. We talk about movies, TV, video games, music, pretty much anything entertainment. We get on there and we talk about our likes, dislikes. We pretty much just argue with each other and try to come up with a happy resolution at the end, but sometimes it doesn't work so well.
So would you say what was your latest episode about? Like, what's an example of pop culture that you talk about?
The last one that came out was about all the previous Batman episodes or Batman movies that came out before the Batman. We went over them, what we liked and disliked, which there was a lot of dislike.
Batman and Robin's the GOAT.
Oh.
Okay.
Hot take.
If you want to hear a lot of that crap.
I listened to a lot of opinions on Harry Potter, and I'm also intrigued. Adrian, you had never read the books?
Never.
Have you read them since?
So I've read 1.5 of the books since we've recorded that episode. So I am making an effort.
Okay, cool. It's just interesting to like talk to someone who's never read the books and then just dive into the movies. That is, somewhere around our age and not like one of my students.
I'm like a half-blood.
And let's be fair, Wesley's never read the books. He had the books read to him.
Oh, stop.
I've listened to them all on Audible since they came out.
It counts.
In high school, I read the first 4, I think, when they came out, and I kept trying to talk my brother into reading them, and he just wasn't having it. I could never get him into it, and then, like, about a year ago, he texted me and said, "Dude, I'm going to watch the movies." And I was just so happy he was finally.
It was a
giving
pandemic,
him
I was bored.
Okay, so Adrian, what's the movie that made you into a movie fan or cinephile?
Oh, wow. That's such a hard question. How could it not be Secret of the Ooze, right? I mean, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Hell yes.
Nice. I was about to say, it doesn't have to be like an Oscar film, but it's just like, what's the movie? And I love Secret of the Ooze. Do you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The way Shredder yells, "They're babies!" Like,
Babies.
Yeah.
You got some Kevin Nash action in there. I mean, come on.
That's right.
Vanilla Ice is in there too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Man, I thought he was going to be a thing.
Oh, it's a good movie.
But more realistically, like from a serious movie perspective, still holds up as one of my favorite movies of all time is Good Will Hunting. Absolutely love the script by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Robin Williams may be my favorite role of his.
I love that script as well. I like read it and then I was like, I immediately put it down, had to watch the movie, and it's like, God, it's so good. I love that answer.
Yeah, it's hard to believe 2 kids that age wrote that script.
Corey, same question to you.
Braveheart.
Really?
Yeah, I even as a little kid, when it was probably a little too brutal for my age, love it. I love every single second of that movie, and I've seen it probably 100 times since.
I'm his brother. That's not a lie.
Yeah, I've watched it a lot around him. He's fallen asleep a lot in our room growing up while I was watching Braveheart. So
this isn't Ninja Turtles.
I love Braveheart. Adrian, could you sell us on something that you watched recently? Like, just convince us to take time out of our lives to watch this thing you love.
Oh, man. Okay, so I'm going to sound extremely mainstream here, but... well, I don't want to do any plugs. But this has been my favorite movie of 2022. It's beat... last year I did a list of my top 10 movies of 2021. This has already surpassed all of them, and that's Matt Reeves' The Batman. Oh. I've seen it 3 times in theaters. It does not run long. I don't care what anybody says. It is a very long movie, but it's just a side of the character that has never been shown on the big screen. You have the detective, dark detective noir. You have like psychological thriller elements. You even get moments where it almost feels like a horror movie, which I absolutely love horror movies. And it's just, I love the Christopher Nolan series. Of course, those are like top tier Batman. but this has already taken my top spot over The Dark Knight. I adore it.
Wow.
Yes, I said it.
Those are some words. I haven't seen it yet,
And it's not for it's a movie that's not for everybody. It's not like fast paced. It's not constant action. Matt Reeves really deliberately paces the movie. He takes his time with each scene. So it's a little bit of a slower burn. If you're looking for constant action, you're going to be like, oh, this movie sucks.
If you've always wanted your Batman to be in a movie like Silence of the Lambs or Seven or Zodiac, like this is that movie.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay. You're making me want to see it. Is he does he do detective? A little more detective noir?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much the entire movie.
But he's not perfect at it yet.
Okay.
So it's like you get the elements of him figuring things out later and being like, crap, I should have caught that. So it's really good.
I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, he's
I'm
still
trying not to say anything too crazy.
He's still very early into his Batman reign.
But he also kicks some major ass.
Oh, yes,
God, yeah. The first 10 to 15 minutes of that movie. Wow. Yes. And good job, Ben.
And speaking of Kick-Ass, Kick-Ass is currently at 76% on Rotten Tomatoes and was nominated for many Teen Choice, MTV, and Scream Awards in 2010. So we're really watching this one because it's one that we love and wanted to talk about. And
Scream
according
Awards.
to a critics list, the Scream Awards, known for their prestige.
They've really rocketed some movies to the top of the list, man.
That's true. But also, according to a critics list compilation site, it did make roughly 10% of all critics' top 10 lists for 2010. So this was loved by critics as well, not just fanboys.
Like Matt.
Like Matt. I don't know if Matt's going to like this movie. We'll get into that, but let's talk about who's in it first. So this is directed by Matthew Vaughn, who is a favorite of this podcast. He started as a producer on Guy Ritchie films like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch, before directing Layer Cake and a 2007 movie that made our top 10 list, which is Stardust.
Fucking amazing.
And starring in this movie is Aaron Taylor Johnson, who had parts before this in movies like Shanghai Nights, The Illusionist, Angus Thongs, and Perfect Snogging. Is that one, Emily, you've seen?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure half those aren't real.
Before starring as John Lennon in the 2009 biopic Nowhere Boy, where he met his future wife and director Sam Taylor Johnson. He was 18 and she was 41.
Yes.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yes.
Wow, I did not know
She left her husband for him or something?
She did, yeah.
We got a little Elvis Presley controversy here. That's all I'll say about that.
Also in this movie, Chloe Grace Moretz. She got her start in a variety of TV shows and movies, including the Amityville Horror remake, Big Mama's House 2, and 500 Days of Summer.
Yes.
I love 500 Days of Summer.
It's such a good movie.
It absolutely
and Matt loves
is.
Big Mama's House too. So
that's the one I was focusing on.
Out of 3 movies, that's what.
I just didn't say that one because it's so obvious. Everyone loves that.
Also in this movie is Nicolas Cage, and I mean, come on, Nicolas Cage is so famous. He literally plays Nick Cage in his newest movie,
which is getting great reviews.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And he is in National Treasure, Con Air, The Rock, Leaving Las Vegas, Raising Arizona. Many great movies throughout the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And lastly, we're going to call up Mark Strong, who started his career in TV and movies that spans back to 1989. He's a frequent collaborator with Guy Ritchie and Matthew Vaughn in movies like Revolver, Rock'n'Rolla, Stardust, Sherlock Holmes, and he also played the villain in 2007 movie Sunshine, which has a connection to Kick-Ass as well.
He also played the villain in Green Lantern.
Yes, he did.
At the very end of the movie. Sinestro.
Oh, wow. Green Lantern call out.
And then there are many other people in this movie that we could call out. Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Lindsay Fonseca, Evan Peters, and Clark Duke. Just this movie's very deep with a supporting cast that's very good in this movie.
So you said you could, and then you did. You said like you were going.
We're not going to dive into. We're not going to dive deep into them, but I want to mention them.
We're not doing a filmography dive on them.
Honorable mentions.
Okay.
Take a sip. Take a sip.
Yep. Drink, motherfucker, drink.
How come nobody's ever tried to be a superhero?
Well, I don't know. Probably because it's impossible.
Putting on a mask and helping people? How's that impossible?
Dude, if anybody did it in real life, they get their ass kicked.
Oh, no, I'm just standing around, you know. No, not...
Before we actually talk about this movie, we're going to put Matt here on the spot because there was no DVD synopsis, and I thought I had seen this movie before. I've seen parts, but I knew enough where I was like, I don't think I should predict what this movie's about. So, Matt, describe the plot of this movie for us. You got 30 seconds. Go.
A teenager wants to become a superhero, and then he does it. And then shit starts to get real when there's real superheroes around him, and they try to take down a drug ring.
That's pretty damn good.
I would say so. Nice job, Matt.
Doesn't give too much away. Doesn't really sell the movie. I don't want to see it based on his description, but
That's how Comcast would put it on their information.
that's true. It's not a DVD cover.
That's like your opinion, child.
Oh, child.
Now, my assumption is that you have all seen this movie before, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Many
Okay,
times.
I want to hear your first impressions when you first saw this because, again, my assumption is the four of you are all around the same age and that you all probably had similar experiences to this movie. So, who wants to go first?
I don't remember when I saw this movie. I don't remember the exact moment I saw this movie.
Well,
but
then
I
who
saw
cares
it.
about you, Matt?
Yeah. I saw it around 2010 because that's when it came out.
So I guess I'll start us off just by saying
Great, Adrian.
that's initiative, right?
This isn't a job interview. Just talk about the movie.
My strengths are no. So one of my good friends back home, he actually saw this movie before I did, and it was just a movie like he was raving about for so long. So we went to our local movie store back when those were things, and we rented it. And like from the first scene where the guy's jumping off the roof, if you knew who Aaron Taylor Johnson was at the time, you knew that wasn't him. But I wasn't too familiar with him. So when the movie starts off and he just jumps off that roof and crashes right into the car, I was already like, oh yeah, I'm going to love this movie. But yeah, it was just a movie he was raving about, and he forced me to sit down and watch it. And I mean, I'll share my thoughts later, but yeah.
I didn't realize that was him in the opening shot where he hits the cab.
It's
No,
not.
it's
That's
not.
what-
Okay.
The narration's happening over that though, so you think it's the guy talking about
He's
his.
like, if you thought this was me, it's not. Okay.
Right.
God,
I
love
thought you meant
Matt.
like the actor. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
Corey, do you remember your first time watching this?
Yeah, actually, I saw it when it came out. I think I went to theaters to see it. I was pretty much hooked when I saw Vaughn's name on it, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, before I even went and saw it. But I'm my whole life been a crazy comic book nerd, and I did read a little bit of this. I knew a little bit about Kick-Ass before I even went into it, and I just got super excited about Nick Cage. To be honest with you, I'm a huge Nick Cage fan, very unapologetically.
He's never done a bad movie.
Never done a bad movie. He really knows what he's doing. He's an actor supreme. But yeah, the first time I went and saw it, it was like a crazy take on a superhero movie, and I really dug it from the first moment I saw it.
That's kind of my take as well. This came out kind of in the very early days of the Marvel building itself and coming in right in the middle of the Dark Knight trilogy. And we'd seen Spider-Man up to this point, but at this point we hadn't really seen this hyper violent take on comic book movies. At this time, the closest you got were the graphic novel ones like 300 or Sin City. But this was one where it wasn't filmed in that graphic novel style. Instead, it was filmed in this very colorful comic booky way.
Right.
That was just unlike anything I'd ever seen before.
Right. There was a lot more humor balance with darkness versus something like Watchmen, which is really, really dark.
It was a little more Scott Pilgrim versus the World than anything else.
Which I'm so excited to do that one too. I'm very, very pumped about that.
Love that movie.
But this was my first time actually watching the whole movie. I distinctly remember my dad renting it, and I was in the basement, and I distinctly remember aspects of it. I remember Hit Girl, and I remember the green suit, and I thought for sure I had seen it, but apparently I hadn't, and I fucking loved it, which I'm not surprised by. Let's be honest. I love comic books, and I love dark humor, but I spent most of my evenings just like before going to bed just reading the comic on my phone. It was a great time, but I will say I prefer the movie to the comic, which a lot of people do.
So do I.
I think even the writer of the comic prefers the movie to the comic from what I was reading.
Exactly. Yeah. He says that there are a lot of differences where the comic is especially darker, and there are like little details about how Dave doesn't get the girl in the end. Spoilers. And Big Daddy's actually an accountant and not an ex-cop. But I love that Vaughn and Mark Miller, the author of the comic book, they collaborated and had a more of an organic process together. So like as they were building the screenplay and the comic, it was kind of this give and take back and forth. And I think that's really cool.
There were a lot of shots in this movie, too, that I feel mirrored what was seen in the comics.
They do.
And I haven't read the comics, but I just assume based on the framing of it and how it was shot, especially I'm thinking of like the shot of him with the rocket pack on his back.
Hell yeah.
Nope, that's added.
Outside of the window. That's added. That looked so much like a comic book shot.
Nope, that's added. There were a couple really, really great ones. Like the opening shot of the guy in the red flying suit crashing down. That's frame for frame from the comic.
Nice.
Or, you know, when Hit Girl stabs the prostitute lady in red with the blood, that is literally in the comic.
Like the two swords through the door?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's an awesome shot.
Right? So there's some really great ones, but they added the bazooka scene because they wanted something like a big bombastic moment to finish things off.
Said everything's under control. You're going for a bazooka, you fucking idiot.
I just love the look on his face when he takes it off the wall and he's like asking permission by looking at him like, huh? He goes, all right.
We need to jump to Matt because, Matt, I can tell that all four of us, other than you, like it. I don't think this is a movie you like. Is that accurate?
Well, you'd be wrong, Ben.
Okay,
This movie's great. I mean, what's not to like?
You just have that sensibility where you don't like the hyper violence and a lot of blood. So I figured that this wasn't going to be up your alley.
I mean, like, okay, I liked it back in 2010, but you know, I hadn't seen it in so long, so it essentially felt like rewatching it for the first time. Like, I knew it happened, but I didn't remember specifically how and where everything went. So the hyper violence kicking in when Kick-Ass is in that drug dealer's apartment is so fun, where you identify with the character. You're just like, holy fuck. And like, you know, every time, you know, Hit Girl looks back at him and she's like smiling, I could picture like the comic book, you know, she looks up and she's making eye contact with him, and it's so good. So I feel like it's a good way to introduce you to that hyper violence, even though, you know, and I don't care for seeing somebody get exploded in a microwave or like, you know, tortured, beaten to death sort of stuff. But, you know, I thought for what it is, it's pretty good. I would imagine Kick-Ass 2 stays in that world.
It's a little more violent, actually.
A little more violent. Okay.
Less humor, more humor, same humor.
Way more humor, but I think it's all a little more slapsticky in the second movie.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. Vaughn only stayed on as producer the second one, where I think it really needed his directorial hand to kind of rein it in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to get too into the weeds in that movie, but I love Kick-Ass. I hate Kick-Ass 2.
I can't remember the plot or anything. That would be like watching a brand new movie. I don't even know if I've seen it.
The main thing I remember is the stunt casting of Jim Carrey.
Yes.
As like this hyper violent character.
Yeah, Captain Stars and Stripes.
Yep.
And that movie came out right before there was like this big school shooting or something, and Jim Carrey immediately felt horrible about doing it because he was really violent in the movie.
Oh.
That's tough.
Well, we're going to stick to this one.
That's tough. Sorry, funny man.
He said, cut that.
I know there was a major controversy with this first one about the hyper violence and the language coming out of this child character.
Which I fucking love. I fucking love it.
Hit Girl's the best part of the movie, in my opinion.
No, Mindy McCready.
When she flat out challenges all of those guys in that one room, right when you really get introduced to her abilities, and she just flat out calls them cunts, I was like, yep, this is awesome. And it's exactly the same way in the comic. Like, you get to that point, you see her addressing all of them, and you're just like, okay, yeah, I'm into this like 10, 11-year-old girl kicking legit ass and destroying people.
And who would have thought they could have got a 12-year-old girl to be as badass as the one in the comics?
Right.
But they did it. They nailed it.
And it's that addition of Hit Girl, though, that is what made Matthew Vaughn decide to basically finance this movie independently. instead of going through a studio, because he knew that the studio would say, yeah, we'll do this if you make Hit Girl 19, which he was like, no, that would lose the complete spirit of the comic book. So he stuck to his laurels and then ended up selling to Universal for more than what he was originally asking for.
Yeah, I have a huge problem. I have a huge problem with the idea of a 19-year-old hit girl calling her dad Big Daddy. I'm just like, everything about that is disgusting. Okay, I'm just going to back up. I hate the word daddy. I absolutely think it's just terrible. And I'm sorry. I know, Ben, you're a dad, and literally this is what your daughter calls you, but I fucking hate it. I think it's childish and immature and terrible. And
I gotta back out of this room and change my name. I'm sorry. Hold on.
I think as far as daddy goes, context plays a big role in that.
Yeah,
I know,
Daddy
true.
Longlegs, Daddy Yankee.
Which I think is what you're saying.
Either way, I think having a 19-year-old hit girl calling her dad Big Daddy would be very weird.
I agree with you 100%.
It would have been a new level of uncomfortable instead of... It was like almost violent cute being 12 years old, but
yeah,
19 would have been a little uncomfortable.
I think even in Kick-Ass 2, I don't know. I think she's like 15. She's like a freshman in high school in that movie. But I don't even know if she drops a daddy in that movie. I think it's always like, my dad, I think she keeps saying. So I don't know.
I think by that age it would have been weird and they saw that, so they just kind of...
Well, that was his superhero name. You know?
Yeah, you're right. Big Daddy.
So, yeah, and Marcus was probably a better parent too, right?
oh yeah.
Marcus overall, like he was probably like, she's probably called him dad.
Yeah, Marcus was a much better parent.
Yeah, really, he wasn't a good dad at all. If you really think about it, like,
yeah,
he really should have let her stay with Marcus.
Oh boy, Ben is gonna...
She asked for something for her birthday and she got it. That's
got
what
2.
a good dad does.
She got one Bellaton and two Bellaton.
That's right.
Also, Dad taught her how to defend herself. You know,
Correct.
That's pretty impressive.
I taught my daughter that too, and she punched a kid on the kindergarten playground. So
killing it.
They shared hot chocolate together. Oh wait, just kidding.
Aww.
He died before that.
Don't worry, they'll have it when they get home.
Yikes.
And I mean, he did shoot her with a low velocity round. I mean,
loves her.
Very kind.
Yeah, that was nice of him.
How else do you train with your daughter?
You know, let's dive deeper into this movie and start off with our good, bad, and weird by focusing on who won this movie. Emily, I know where you're going. Do it.
It's because y'all brought it up. It's literally Nick Cage in general won this movie for me, but it's really the scene where he shoots his daughter and he says, "You're going to be fine, baby doll." Bang! Oh my God. Completely knocks her off her feet. And that, like, the whole movie at that point I had been enjoying, but that was the moment that I realized, yep, Nick Cage is the fucking best in this whole movie. And the way he talks as Big Daddy, he's like talking like Adam West. He's having these weird, awkward pauses and emphasis, and I just fucking love it.
It's like half Adam West, half Kirk, Captain Kirk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
He should call himself Ass Kick.
The thing about Nick Cage in this movie, too, is in a lot of Nick Cage movies, it's hard to differentiate Nick Cage between the character and who the actor is, which I think is why this new movie idea is such a great idea of having him actually just play himself, because I have such a hard time looking at him on screen and not just seeing Nick Cage up there.
Yep.
But in this movie, I feel like he really lost himself in this character.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where I stopped watching it thinking it was Nick Cage and actually started investing in who the character was.
And the moment when he's literally being burned alive and he's screaming directions at his child, I mean, that was an emotional moment, not enough to make me sob or anything, but the way that he portrayed how much in pain he was and trying to, like, still save his daughter, like,
Right, yeah.
still so fucking impressive. Everything about him in this movie was fantastic.
He's literally being burned alive.
I didn't cry either. It was allergies.
And those strategies that he was shouting out, were those from comic books? Like, I think I remember Robin's Revenge.
And Kryptonite.
Yep.
Okay, I figured there were references to comic books as well.
Yeah, Robin's Revenge had to do with a character that Robin was fighting who had a super ability to hear. So it was making a lot of noise so that he was distracted so that you could come up behind him. So in this one, it was taking away their sight ability by using the strobe light and then coming around the side and killing them.
I love that Ben answered that question. Ben is not really a comic book person.
Well, motherfucker, maybe I am.
And just for context, that people that haven't listened to our podcast yet, I am like the least comic book person in the world. So every time my brother and our other co-hosts go down that alley, I just stand there and go, But I love that you guys are my anchor into the kick-ass comic world compared to the movie world. So yeah, I'm enjoying that dynamic.
Yeah, you pick up on those little hints and you're like, that's probably something. So I'm going to ask one of these nerds coming up and
absolutely
and see where this leads. I love Nick Cage in this movie. When he is in a scene, he's like all this weird character, but you know, that warehouse where you start from the Teddy cam, that warehouse scene was like, oh my God, he's like the strongest one out of them all. So badass. So for them to take him down the way he got took down, I thought that the entire flow works where he doesn't get defeated by anything other than accepting Kick-Ass in as like a Trojan horse.
Yeah, that's a great transition into my winning, which is the blocking and fight choreography within this movie, because it was so unlike anything I had seen before with that hyper-violence focus. So seeing the way that they moved throughout the warehouse scene, the way that they moved throughout the strobe light scene, and even the one in the apartment where we're first introduced to Hit Girl, all of the fight choreography was just so well done. And shout out to Chloe Grace Moretz for doing most of her own stunts, because girl got after it.
Wow. I didn't realize she did all her own stunts. That's impressive.
Most. She was like 11 or 12, so.
Okay.
She did a lot of that final fight scene through the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really impressive.
So badass. And are you telling me she didn't fall out of an apartment building 2 stories up?
No, she did that.
Okay, good.
She also got shot with a low velocity round.
Yeah, I was going to change my opinion of the film if it wasn't real.
You know what? This movie sucks.
Corey, who won this movie for you?
I went into it thinking Nick Cage was going to win it for me back when I first saw it, but Hit Girl won me over. Pretty much the whole movie, it was Hit Girl for me. And the scene that cemented it for me was that hallway scene where it's just singing that super childish la 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 in the background while she's just killing these fuckers in a hallway. She won me over right there.
Yeah, there is a great dichotomy between the violence that we see on screen and kind of the pop music that plays behind it. It's a very interesting play.
Yeah.
Emily, I think, wants to talk more about the soundtrack, but we'll
I
get
do.
to it later.
That was my second choice. I just want to hear everyone else's winning first. Fucking Ben with his stupid transitions. Adrian.
Yeah, so you know what? Both of my answers were just said. My follow-up would be I do want to give big props to just the soundtrack and the score of this movie. Like, just those moments just hit at the perfect time. We just talked about the warehouse scene. You have like a darker tone there playing as Big Daddy's just ripping through all of his men. You have Bad Reputation playing as she's going through the hall just murking people. So I really, big props to the music department, the score, the soundtrack. But I'm going to have to unfortunately go with my brother and say Chloe Grace Moretz was just unbelievable in this movie.
I taught him everything he knows. Yeah.
Just the range of everything she was able to do at that age and just really make you believe it while you're watching it. Like, there's nothing that seemed over the top or too ridiculous, unlike Kick-Ass 2. I loved every scene with her. And she was equally, like, as much as she kicked ass, she was equally funny. I love so many of her lines, like when they crushed the guy and at the dump, and she's just like, what a douche.
Yeah.
Right. There was a really great comparison in the comic, and I wish it would have come in the movie. Maybe it did and I missed it, but they compare her in the narration to John Rambo meets Polly Pocket, and that made me lose my shit. I was like, yes, this is it. This is what she is.
That is not in the movie, but it should have been.
That
right?
Absolutely should have been.
Matt, you got a winner that's not one of the ones we said?
Yeah, I feel like you guys are leaving out the friend group. You know, you have Marty, Todd, and Dave. Like, that was what did it for me. That classical high school experience of being with your best buds, You got Clark Duke, you got Evan Peters, Aaron Johnson. I thought they had such great chemistry as friends. And I think that's a more overlooked piece of this because, everything you guys said was great. But I just wanted to give props to like the actual actors' chemistry and what they did on screen.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Good call.
It was sweet.
And those were like some heavy hitters. Like that's a hell of a big three right there as far as a friend group in any movie.
Yeah, they had such like the scene where he's going up to McLovin at the comic books and then the bodyguard tells him to fuck off.
That's so good.
Just laugh at him. It's so funny. And it brings you into high school. And I think that's an important part of telling, this story with a high school superhero.
So Matt, is this just you, Ben, and Wesley? Just your little friend group in high school and right after?
I mean, no. None of us did anything crazy like this, We'd make fun of each other, when one of us lost a bunch of money gambling, but...
You don't know that Wesley wasn't a superhero?
Wesley definitely was a superhero.
Have you seen him in his Quail Man outfit?
Yeah, I just want to make a side note that one Halloween I dressed up as Kick-Ass. Huge mistake.
Why?
You got murdered.
Well, yeah, that too, but I just want to say it was skin tight, wasn't the best choice.
Yeah. You run into Mark Strong and he beats you up.
I got kicked in the face and it was just a rough night overall.
Okay, let's talk more about some of our favorite moments of this movie in the good. Do we have any favorite scenes, Corey?
I already kind of mentioned mine. My favorite scene was the whole apart in Frank D'Amico's penthouse. Just overall, every part of that, her fighting all those guys in that hallway to being pinned in that little cupboard underneath, and she kind of looks scared for a second, but then she gets her shit together, and he goes in and gets that bazooka, and Frank just kind of nods to him like, "Yeah, go ahead." Just that whole scene at the end in the apartment is probably.
There are two pieces of orchestral music that I will always call out on this podcast. One of them is On the Nature of Daylight, which we talked about a few weeks ago for Shutter Island because of its use there. And then in the movie Arrival, obviously. And then the other one is Adagio in D minor coming from Sunshine. And the way that they use that in the strobe light scene as the background music to, Big Daddy being on fire and Hit Girl coming to save him. It was just super powerful. I love that use. And I love that piece of music.
So since you're bringing up orchestral classical music, I might as well bring up the Barbara of Seville Overture, because as soon as I heard the strings, I was like, I know what that is. That's it. And we'll just talk about the soundtrack in general, but with the Barbara of Seville Overture, it's when Joe is first walking into Frank's home and takes the elevator up, and it kind of builds a little bit. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. And then the elevator doors open and he's standing there in this just dramatically gorgeous home. And then it transitions back after they're talking a little bit about, oh shit, the guy we thought was screwing us, he's dead and it's still happening. We're having problems. And it transitions with that really interesting Mark Strong's face turning into a drawing and Nick Cage. And then it transitions back to Mark Strong talking to Joe, where we get the exploding microwave scene. So within all of that, the Barbara of Seville Overture is playing, and it just hits all of those moments that are escalating in such a beautiful way. Just this building crescendo throughout the whole kind of transition of those three scenes, and I loved it. I loved how they put that in there.
They did it so well, I didn't even notice. It was just...
I'm just an opera nerd. I fucking love opera. And also Barbara of Seville is a really fun opera. And also, let's be honest, how many of you have seen Bugs Bunny, Rabbit of Seville? You should have recognized it. Come on.
Killed a wabbit.
Exactly. But wrong. Wrong one. But that's okay.
Right.
That's Flight of the Valkyries. But other things I fucking loved was CeeLo doing Crazy and the Mika song at the end. And as you said, Bad Reputation. There were so many great moments in this soundtrack. Everything about the soundtrack just meshed so perfectly with the movie.
Heck yeah. Even in the penthouse scene, they cut to the bad guys' faces to the beat. When Hit Girl's about to turn around with her two guns and then every single bad guy's face.
Yeah, so badass.
Other favorite scenes or lines or moments?
Some of my favorite scenes were like, it really let me know what I was in for with this movie and like what it was going to do different than the traditional superhero movie. Like they did such a good job almost parodying superhero movies, but at the same time telling his own origin. Like, I love his first fight, obviously, when he gets that knife to the stomach. I did not see that coming, and then he gets hit by the car.
Right.
Dude had a bad day.
Yeah, a hit and run. The guy didn't stop.
And then when he's on the rooftop, and this is like literally a direct ripoff of like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, when Tobey Maguire's jumping from roof to roof, and you see Dave running up to it, and he stops right before he's going to jump. Like, what the fuck am I doing? So I just love how I'm like, this isn't like every other movie. There's something different about this. And that just really clicked with me. It's one of the reasons I love this movie so much.
I told you guys he'd bring up Sam Raimi.
Oh, yes.
Well, it's utilizing that iconography that we're so familiar with from other superhero movies. And then it's also the fourth wall breaking narration, which kind of calls out what we're seeing as being part of a world where superheroes exist. And I think this movie stylistically should get a lot of credit for what Deadpool did 6 or 7 years later, because this movie is very much Deadpool.
Yes, especially when Dave Lazuski says, and if you think I'm alive just because I'm telling you this story, quit being a smartass. Yeah, like that line right there.
Haven't you ever seen Sin City?
American Beauty?
Yeah.
So good. I also want to call out that bazooka shot. I know we already mentioned it, but just the building of it and watching Mark Strong get blown to smithereens was so fucking satisfying.
Yeah. And I thought he made a very formidable boss, you know, as a boss in a comic book. You know, all of his guys are just going to get blown through, you know, just mowed down by guns. But at the end, he actually was a challenge to be defeated.
Well, yeah, how they were cutting back and forth between the two fights, which was so funny. Between Kick-Ass and Red Mist, they're just bad attempt at trying to
horrible fight
each other. So funny. And then to these highly trained, highly skilled, a 12-year-old girl or 11-year-old girl with this mob boss. Just so funny. But also, I thought that was a powerful move to show like how formidable he was as an opponent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Kick-Ass would have been dead in a second if he went up against him.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
He would have done about as well as the imposter Kick-Ass in the alley.
This movie has so many famous lines. Is there any line that anyone wants to call out?
Of course, another parody on the Spider-Man, of course, Sam Raimi. But when Dave says, with no power comes no responsibility.
Yeah.
I love that.
Similar to that, there was a line related to Batman where Dave says, how do I get a hold of you? And Hit Girl says, you just contact the mayor's office. He has a special signal he signs in the sky. It's in the shape of a giant cock.
That was going to be my next one.
I think that was the only line in the entire movie when I was in theaters. I got a little bit of a cringe. Like, oh, God. A little 12-year-old girl just said cock.
There is the scene when Mark Strong comes out of the warehouse after they're like chopping off that guy's pinky. I can't remember his name. And that he and his son are going to go see a movie together. Their whole conversation back and forth talking about, yeah, we're going to get ices, you know, combining the red and blue. That's so great. And you hear the gunshots in the background.
You can hear the guys screaming the whole time.
One of my absolute favorite lines, just like that little scene right there. Very cute between their family.
And then the whole back and forth in the comic store is so funny when Red Mist comes around and like everybody's talking about how badass he is and like his uniform's better. He has a cape and he has a better body. Dave's getting so pissed. He's like, can we turn that off?
So many great moments, but I am sure there are a few bad ones, maybe. Yeah.
I hated the use of the Dave is gay storyline.
Oh, I know.
To get him like ingratiated with the girl. And then I hated the quick turnaround of him then getting with her after she finds out he's been lying to her this whole time. Like it just all felt like it was very much written just by a man who was just going to gloss over any female's actual feelings.
It absolutely would not work that way.
No. Matt, speaking from experience, When you've pretended to be gay before to get women, has it ever worked like that?
Jeez Louise, what a crack, Ben. I feel like, yeah, this movie definitely suffered from being at the tail end of the 2000s. You know, a lot of movies suffered from this problem, and you wish it wasn't in there. I don't necessarily mind the quick turn with him getting with Katie, because she did like kick ass. So like I feel like maybe that was like a Spider-Man sort of deal, but them fucking in an alley was weird. It doesn't seem teenagers. In character.
That seems normal for teenagers.
I don't know.
I can't even tell you the number of dumpsters.
Oh dear.
I mean, I was by myself, but it happened.
And then when he says he's using his kick-ass uniform one more time, that's when he goes in her window and reveals that he's not gay. But he says, what's the difference between Peter Parker and Spider-Man? Spider-Man gets the girl. But like, bro, did you watch Spider-Man? Because Peter Parker got the girl. He turned her down, but Peter Parker got her.
Are we talking about Spider-Man 3?
Yeah, we are.
Hey,
the dance moves, baby.
We have a beautiful video of Matt doing that.
I'll talk about Spider-Man 3 all day, my friend.
I think also kind of what Matt and Ben were talking about with the tail end of the 2000s.
Yeah.
Just some of the word choices too just stick out so much more than they did. I actually was talking to some of my colleagues about this and just the use of the R word. We don't see that in our schools anymore. It used to be a big problem, especially in middle school. It's not happening. The word gay still is used in a little bit of a derogatory way, but it's a lot better than it used to be, even like 7 or 8 years ago when I started teaching. And so it really does date the movie.
It does.
And that was hard to listen to because otherwise I think this movie was really, really well done.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the biggest offender of that is probably Hit Girl herself. She has a lot of like gay references. And she says it a lot throughout the movie. But what I wanted to ask is like, so I know after he gets stabbed and hit by the car, obviously he has the paramedics take his uniform costume. He doesn't want anyone to know. So like, how does the rumor start that how does getting mugged and stabbed like start a rumor in school that you're gay? Is that just like high schoolers?
Naked?
Because he was found naked.
I think it was also with prostitution. They were relating being gay with prostitution, right?
Like the girl in Rizul's house.
Yeah, exactly. No, but like he was out something. There was a line in there where that was the what they were saying, and I was like, I don't like that. And then they went down the line. He was the gay. So,
and I mean, even the dad in the hospital asking his son, the robbers, they didn't.
Right.
Why would that be the first thing you'd want to ask your son?
Well, if
weird.
I kind of get that if he has no clothes and
they were doing that in the 2000s. Like that was like something I'd seen before in like a comedy.
Okay, yeah. So, some of the lines definitely aged the movie, though. I agree with that.
My assumption was like he was worried his son was raped by these muggers.
That's what I mean,
right?
Yeah,
right. So like, that seems like a valid concern of a dad who lost his wife and is single parenting, and his son is found beaten to death and naked. So
right.
I just don't feel like any dad would bring that up like that.
You don't think?
I wouldn't. I'd wonder for a while probably, and I might eventually bring it up. But in the fucking hospital, can you give the kid a second to maybe deal with that trauma?
You see, here in Pennsylvania, we avoid awkward conversations.
We don't talk to our dads.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. As a teacher and a dad, like you say, give them time to deal with that trauma. I don't think my teenager would be able to deal with that trauma on their own. So I would want to ask about it right away just to help them through it and get them the support that they needed.
I mean,
Minnesotans not passive at all about anything ever.
Right.
Yeah, and also couldn't the paramedic just tell the dad he threw his clothes away because they're so bloody?
Yeah.
He wasn't found naked. He was found with clothes that have been thrown away.
We're diving through all the weeds. Is there anything else that's bad about this movie, though?
Can you ask me what's bad about the second one? I can give you lots of those.
Okay, well then maybe we should just move on to anything that's just weird, because I definitely have some weird moments in this movie that took me out of it.
Well, start with yours, Emily. What do you got?
Sweet. Okay, so as I said, I'm a teacher. This fucking woman walks in, and I don't even fucking care that he's fantasying about her boobs and whatnot. I don't care about that, whatever. But she walks in and immediately tells the class, hey, turn to page whatever, and they do it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The fact that she shows up in the morning as the bell is ringing and can just teach, no prep, nothing. I'm sorry that I'm
Emily.
not Ben, but like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Emily, that's what teaching in a suburb is like, though.
Are you kidding me?
No, that, like, legitimately, like, you can do that in a suburb.
I'm calling bullshit, Ben. They're in Staten Island, okay? Those kids are trash. No, they're all problem children. If that guy from Saturday Night Live who's dating Kim Kardashian, thank God
Pete
his
Davidson.
name. I can't remember. No,
He's
I
a
can't.
perfect student.
If he's the best thing that came out of there, your kids are down here. For the listening audience, my hand is low.
It's low.
I also had a huge problem with Dave not wearing his glasses while he was kick-ass. Because
yeah, that was weird to me too.
let's just talk about how many people are wearing glasses right here. 4 out of 5. Can you see well without your glasses to not get kicked and punched in the face?
But he was getting kicked and punched in the face. Like, he wasn't good at fighting.
But that was just normal teenager shit. Like, he was probably worse because he didn't have his glasses, but...
I'll pose a question. Would he have been better if he had been wearing contacts?
What if he was wearing contacts and they just didn't have enough time in the movie to show him putting in contacts? Each scene where he changes into costume.
They should have put in some intense action music of him putting contacts in.
I would have appreciated that.
If they can put bat nipples on a bat suit, they can show him putting in contacts.
That's the quote of the podcast.
I know we called out Nick Cage's great performance. I did not like his line delivery while he was burning alive, where he's like screeching and squealing.
Fuck you.
It was weird. It was
reminded
weird.
me too much of his Wicker Man performance, where he's shouting about the bees. Like that was the time where I'm like, oh, clearly you're Nick Cage right now. And it just took me out of it.
Especially Robin's Revenge.
What Emily's trying to say is, fuck you!
Yo, I love that you're making so many references. I have not seen enough movies to get any
That
references.
was a reference to Kick-Ass.
Wait, you haven't seen The Wicker Man, though?
Yeah, you don't remember how he was shouting like
Robin's Revenge?
Robin's Revenge? I was like, I don't think I would sound like that if I was burning alive. It was weird, Ben. You are correct.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, take cover, child.
It wasn't bad, just weird.
Take cover, child.
I think I would be more saying, ouch, this fucking hurts. Somebody put me out, please.
I guess my biggest question of the movie is what happened to Mr. Bitey the cat? Did the cat get rescued?
When did the cat happen?
The cat.
Oh, right.
That's
Fuck
when he's
you,
walking
Mr.
around like,
Bitey.
Fuck you, Mr. Bitey.
I wish I had been around for seeing his MySpace, because I wonder what it would be like to navigate that many new inquiries.
Oh my God, it would have taken forever.
MySpace.
They mentioned MySpace so many times in that movie. That was one of the biggest things that dated that movie. The amount of times they say MySpace. Some people have no idea what that means.
What,
now.
people don't use MySpace anymore?
Maybe that's the problem with our podcast. I started a MySpace page.
Yeah, your only fan is Tom.
He's our only friend.
Wait, only fan. Okay. Emily, Matt, and Ben are going into my top 8. That's all I know.
Did you ever have a MySpace, Emily?
No. Do you know how old I am, Matt? I'm way younger than you.
I don't know if like you just had some really irresponsible parents that are like, social media, the great experiment, like, I don't know.
Oh my God. I don't even think my sister had a MySpace, and she's like 4 years older than me.
Okay.
I'm also only 22, so I didn't have one.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Well, let's put a cork in this thing and give our final thoughts on Kick-Ass, and we're going to start with Corey.
Overall, it's a great movie. It's a different take on a comic book movie. I always appreciate when they go outside the comfort zone of comic book movies like Watchmen and things like Kick-Ass. it always excites me as a comic book fan when they will put enough of a comic book into the movie, but also throw some new stuff at you so you're not seeing everything that's coming. Kick-Ass certainly did that. It had a lot of great one-liners, a lot of great funny things, but it also kind of made you feel a couple times within the movie. So really, I'd probably about a 7 out of 10 altogether for this movie. It's very, very good.
Let's go to Emily.
Kick-Ass is definitely that. It kicked some ass, and I would love to just have it on in the background, watch it over a beer with someone. I would love to just sit and listen to the soundtrack. Everything about it I loved, except for a little bit of some datedness of 2010.
Mm-hmm. Adrian?
Yeah, so I guess every time I revisit this movie, I can't say I watch it like every 6 months or something, but every time I happen to stumble back upon it, I forget how much I really loved it. And one of my hot takes is I'm not always the biggest MCU guy. So I feel like they're very, formula. They have a formula that they stick by. So as people already said, it's very outside the box. Early on, I figured out that this is not your normal superhero movie. It's dark. There's gore, there's violence, but there's also what I think the movie has, a term that's probably overused, but I think this movie has a ton of heart that I think is sorely missing from the second movie. I love everything about it other than a few, lines that if they could have taken out wouldn't have really changed the dynamic of the movie, but it's a product of its time. And I feel like, people are big on rankings now, top 5, top 10. Whenever you think of like top 10 hero movies, you wouldn't even think of Kick-Ass, but it's probably somewhere in mine. It honestly is. I love it. I adore it.
Matt?
Yeah, it's a wonderful little comic book movie. It's really awesome, really hyper violent, and it's so violent when you stop and think about it. But after it's all said and done, you're like, I'd probably show that to a 13-year-old. So it's like, I really think it's a great movie. All the characters work. All of their arcs are perfect. So, aside from some datedness and problems from the time, it's good.
Yep, I really enjoyed it as well. I think it was very well made. I love the Matthew Vaughn style of filmmaking and the way that these movies just have such a signature look and way that they kind of progress. I worry a little bit about Matthew Vaughn talking about doing a reboot of this because I don't think it needs it. I think this was a great entry, and if you want to try to build a sequel, Matthew Vaughn, and put your stamp back on it, go ahead and do that. But let's not start back over because you've got a great foundation already built here with this one.
What's your favorite idea? Mine is being creative.
How do you get the idea?
I just try to think creatively.
First question. What kind of superhero or supervillain does Nick Cage need to be next? Real or made up?
We need to see his portrayal of Superman that never happened.
Right. Why is that?
Because, listen, Henry Cavill, that's fine. That's whatever. But is Zack Snyderverse with Nick Cage as Superman? I don't think there's anything better. That's what the people have been that's what nobody's been asking for. That is what I have been asking for.
Corey.
He's actually been in talks to play a really weird version of Egghead. And I think I actually would like to see him play Egghead. Maybe not in the Batman sequel like he wants to do. A little too serious. He's like a mobster. He's like a mobster with a big old egghead.
He's a Batman villain.
Okay. Got it.
I want to see an original superhero that's just created specifically for him. Like, I liked his take on Big Daddy, even though it was kind of a Batman ripoff. Like, I'd love to see just an original superhero. Let him create his own. Nick Cage has earned the clout to be whoever he wants to be. So let Nick Cage just create his own superhero.
He would make his own great superhero.
Yeah.
Matt?
I'd like to see him play, I'd love to see him play Ghost Rider. I think he would be a really good Ghost Rider.
Something tells me you're not 100% right about that.
I feel like that he was Ghost Rider or something.
Yes, he was.
Oh my God, I gotta go see this movie.
I feel like it could be decent for one entry and then really bad a second time.
I'd also love to see his take on Wonder Woman.
I'm Wonder Woman.
You know, he would be really good at that. I'm sure he has the legs for it too.
Again, that's costumes in his private time.
All right, number 2, we're going to get extra silly, and I'm sure brothers and friends are going to really fuck with each other on this one. So, you're going to be basically describing your co-host's attempt at becoming a vigilante if they ever became one. I want a costume description. I want a name, whatever else you want to throw out there. What is your co-host's vigilante attempt?
I'm ready right away. Can I just go?
Of course you're ready right away for Matt.
Yep. Matt is boy man. So Matt always shows up late with an underdeveloped idea for what he's doing. So he's got an underdeveloped superhero idea. He's just boy man. He shows up in his normal street clothing, except he's got a towel tucked into the back of his shirt, treating it as a cape. And the reason that he ends up not being successful as a vigilante, because he tries, he does his best, as we all know of Matt on this podcast, he does his best. But ultimately, you know, once he gets in front of people, he kind of starts to falter. Like, if you've seen his stand-up comedy before, once you put him in front of people, it's a little bit rough. So
every show you've been to, I've done really well.
Oh wait, does Matt do stand-up comedy?
I did.
That's amazing.
We both also have done that on stage.
So I think Matt would be Arthur Fleck. That would be his made-up name.
Oh, well, I've got Ben's. Okay,
Are
you done?
I'm done. Yeah, you're good.
What was I, man boy?
No, boy man.
Boy man. Don't put the man first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Ben is daddy tired. How about that?
Daddy tired.
Can I also be daddy tired?
Ben is daddy tired. Probably Emily's favorite use of the word daddy.
Oh, I hate you.
Oh, God.
Ben is a vigilante who's always so tired from staying up, taking care of his kids, and working so late. And he's just always tired, especially from editing the podcast. He never gets any sleep. And he's a vigilante on Twitter. He's making sure that people are staying correct politically, and they're not having any bad takes, because otherwise he's gonna be on the boards.
That's right.
Kicking some ass.
Kicking some ass.
And only during daylight hours.
You are the king of Twitter trolls. That's amazing.
Daddy tired, right?
Daddy tired.
I could probably do Adrian's.
Got it. Let's go, Corey.
We're going to call him the overanalyzer. He does a little too much research. He ends up with like 5 or 6 pages for every episode we do and does not need it.
Here's a fun fact.
I'm going to say he probably shows up in like Under Armour shirt and hat and assless chaps. And what he does is he finds people committing crimes and he tells them fun facts until they just don't want to commit crimes anymore.
Nice. What kind of criminals is he stopping? Does he have a sector? Are they white crimes?
Basically just people trying to rip off little gas stations.
Street crimes.
Street crimes.
Street crime. Okay.
Well, I'm going after my arch rival, which is my brother, which I will call Fat Dad. So he is also always works and taking care of his kids. So I see my brother being someone who uses his vast knowledge of comics to be villainous and dubious, and he uses his son and his daughter as his sidekicks in evil. almost like a hit girl, but his kids.
I absolutely would do that. And you know what? They're going in first. They're the ones that go in and make sure it's safe for Fat Dad.
Now let's all agree to never be creative again.
Okay, Ben, time for some games.
Yes, and my game is kind of similar to what we just did, except it's a little different. So this is the ass-kicking championship. And we're going to have head-to-head battles between superheroes, and I need you to explain why your hero would win in a fight against your opponent's hero. So for the first round, the heroes were created using a superhero name generator.
I love it.
And then for the championship, I created 2 of my own. So first up, we have Emily versus Corey. Emily, your superhero is the Magnificent Puma. And Corey, your superhero is the Broken Watchman. Emily, explain how the Magnificent Puma would beat Broken Watchman.
All right. Well, Magnificent Puma has specifically hard enough claws to break through any sort of glass or metal. And so, yeah, I know that they're already broken, but now they're broken to the point of never being able to be put back together. And so Broken Watchman is always late for our fights. Always. And therefore, I'm able to set up a bunch of traps because, I'm a smart Puma. Pumas are really intelligent and magnificent too. These magnificent traps fuck up Broken Watchmen for sure.
Great. Corey, Broken Watchmen, how are they going to take down the Magnificent Puma?
Okay, first of all, you give me very little to work with, but here I go. I am always late for fights, but that's because I'm planning. It is not a broken watch that keeps me from my fights. I know what time it is. I know what time it is because of the sun in the sky. All right, I show up with all my watches on. They're all over the place. They're all broken. Every single one of them. I'm not good at picking out watches. But because I break so many watches, I know how to break things. And I'm going to break the Magnificent Puma before she even gets near me. I'll use my arms of justice.
So wait, just to clarify, you buy the watches broken or you buy them and then break them?
Buy them and then they break.
Okay.
That's why as soon as that Puma takes a swipe at me, that wrist is broken. Next swipe, wrist is broken. I mean, you're not going to be able to beat me if you can't touch me.
Okay, Matt. Okay. Who do you think won that battle?
Oh, it was close. But a puma is just really a cougar, so I'm gonna go with Corey with the breaking of the wrists. That was so out of the left field. I thought it would have been able to break time or something, but I love breaking wrists.
Shit.
Sorry, Emily.
Every day I wake up and I break both my legs.
Adrian, who did you have winning that one?
What was the terminology? Magnificent?
Yep.
I'm going with the Magnificent Puma. She made a very compelling case, and I don't see a world where Broken Watchman ever wins that fight against a jungle cat or tiger or any type of.
It's like very planning traps too. Kudos.
Yeah, absolutely. And she came up with the he's always late. That's genius level intellect right there.
I think I am going to go with Emily too. I think the setting up the traps because they're late was a great little addition. I wish Broken Watchmen would have been like, I'm at least right twice a day, or I wear so many watches that I'm right all the time, or something like that. I should
have said that. I had the twice a day thing in my head, and I went away from it. Damn.
Okay, so Emily is going to move on to the championship for that one. Next up, we have Matt versus Adrian. Matt, your superhero is Choice Maker. And Adrian, yours is the Good Fighter. So it's Choice Maker versus the Good Fighter. And Matt, explain to us how Choice Maker takes down the Good Fighter.
Well, the Good Fighter, he's good at fighting, but I'm better at a few things. I'm better at making them make choices. So what I do is I let the fighter... I'm going to keep on giving him two options until I force him into a losing tree. So after I give him 16 choices, his chances of now beating me are now 1 in, wait, let me see. What's 2 accent 16? That's, I think that's like 1,000,000 something to 1. So the Good Fighter is going to have to be, his brain is so stupid. So he won't be able to get through my choice tree, okay. which is my superhero power.
Yeah, for sure.
And I dress like the choice meme guy with the red, where he's got the rag on his head.
Yeah. Hopefully your choice of costume makes a difference in the fight. Adrian,
you never know.
How is the Good Fighter going to take down Choice Maker?
So my first bark back here, my first disclaimer is I don't know why me being a good fighter automatically makes me stupid.
CTE. Sorry.
CTE.
Even the best fighters get punched in the face training.
But I'm a good fighter. Fighting is all I know, okay? That's how I was raised. Fighting is all I know. Much like Hit Girl, I was raised to fight. I got my childhood taken from me. No choice you put in my way. You're not going to sit down and give me a pen and a pad and a multiple choice question. I'm going to punch right through all your questions. I'm going to take each question. I'm going to punch it in the face. I honestly don't see how I don't win this fight. I'm trying to explain, but like, I don't know how I lose this one. I think I would punch a Marvelous Puma in the face. I'd punch a broken Watchman in the face. I'm a good fighter. and that's what you need in this competition.
Okay.
I wish I got a rebuttal. I would crush you.
Sorry.
I would crush you.
Matt, make the right choice here.
Emily, who won that fight for you?
Ah, shit, that's right. You gotta ask me now. They both sucked, honestly. No, they were good. They were good, but just like, I don't see a winner. I see them just like never defeating each other and then just taking a nap.
Emily, what is your choice?
I'm chasing Matt, and he's like, so there's one person on the railroad, but if you turn the cart, there's 3 people.
I'm not forcing you into choices by questions. Do you block left or right?
Okay. Shut up, because now I'm doubting everything. Honestly, I think Matt would just the choice maker would make good fighters so tired that he would just, again, like, say, I'll come back for you later.
Corey?
There's absolutely one line Adrian could have said to make me pick him, and he didn't say it. I was waiting for it. If Adrian had made the argument that he's too stupid to think about the choices he's being given, so he would just punch him, I would have picked Adrian, but I'm picking Matt because he didn't.
Yeah, I went the other way on that.
Yeah.
I immediately got offended that I was called stupid.
Instead of using it to your advantage.
Okay, so Matt moves on to the championship.
Who are you going to vote for?
I was going to vote for Matt as well.
Oh, the good. I was going to vote for the good fighter. Well, Matt, you kicked my ass. Good job.
Thanks. By the way, I was totally wrong. It's not 1 in a million. It's like 65,000. So you could have corrected my math. I would have been fucked.
Well, I'm stupid.
I did think about it, but I figured I'd let you just have it.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's the championship with 2 superheroes that I created myself. We've got Emily versus Matt. Emily, you've got the Agnostic Mantis. He's not a praying mantis. He's an Agnostic Mantis. And Matt, you've got the Mag-Jackal.
The what?
The what?
Mag-Jackal.
What's a Mag?
Magic, like
he's magical, but he's a Mag-Jackal.
Electric fire.
I'll run with it. Mag-Jackal.
Emily, how does the Agnostic Mantis take down Mag-Jackal?
And remember, you don't have God on your side.
It's not that I don't have God on my side. I just don't care if I have God on my side.
Exactly.
Okay, here's what I'm picturing. The Agnostic Mantis. I'm picturing Kung Fu Panda Mantis style Kung Fu. And Mantis is agnostic, which does help since the Mag-Jackal is really into his own, magical gods to give him his magical powers, right? And so Mantis decides, I'm going to set up this really intricate plan to kung fu him into not having his god on his side anymore.
Okay.
Wow.
And so I'm picturing essentially, the Mag-Jackal is eating something and it's giving him all of his magical powers, and Mantis sneaks into the food and jumps into his stomach and starts kicking and punching inside to the point where, he's throws up and doesn't believe in God anymore. So now he's agnostic too.
So you're just a normal jackal.
You're just normal now, bitch.
Matt, how is the Mag-Jackal gonna beat the Agnostic Mantis?
So fucking dumb. I hate you.
God. Well, as a jackal, let's just say I am laughing at you so hard right now because of how bad you just fucked up. Okay, you're just off praying to no one. The Agnostic Mantis always praying. Well, get this: Mag-Jackal's power isn't magic at all. It's the power of magazines and slander. I run a conglomerate of magazines, and we're gonna slander the shit out of you, so everybody hates you. You know, you're agnostic. You don't believe in God, sure, whatever. Well, we're going to run so many stories. Everybody on Twitter is going to hate you. And, and you're going to get depressed and you're going to kill yourself because the Mag-Jackal bullies people online. Laughing like a
hyena.
Evil,
like a jackal.
You can almost say like a hyena.
Slender-legged wild dog that feeds on game and fruit. The Mag-Jackal.
Okay, Emily, because he took that in a very different direction than what you thought, I'll give you 15 seconds to rebut. How are you going to rebut his magazine slander?
That's a tough one.
So no one's going to want to buy his magazines because he threw up on all of them from me being inside him. And now he has a permanent bulimic problem.
Oh my God. Okay.
All right. Suicide and bulimia.
We're hitting the real topics.
So sorry.
I'm so sorry.
It was a good fight. A good superhero fight. I could see him making it a comic.
This segment is aging like Kick-Ass.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's go to Corey. Corey, who won that fight for you?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I appreciate a good turnaround on the name. Try and make it something else. But the line, I'm going to kung fu him, won me over. I think a mantis who knows kung fu, even without a god or a deity of any kind, is going to kick the shit out of a columnist. He can type all he wants, but he's not going to see the mantis coming. I'm going to have to go with the mantis.
Adrian?
All right. So no hard feelings either way. And in the show, I'm not a poor sport after getting my ass kicked, even though I'm a good fighter. I have to give it to Matt. That was a masterful level retort there. And I want to say columnists do have power. Being a Sam Raimi Spider-Man fanboy, there was nobody better in that universe than J. Jonah Jameson. So I'm going with Matt, whatever the hell his name was. The mad columnist or whatever.
The Mag-Jackal.
There it is.
I would like to point out that magazine and magazine are very different.
Oh, depending on where you're from, sure.
Okay.
That's how I've always said it down in the South.
So it's tied 1-1. So I'm going to break the tie, and I'm going to give this to Emily because I do think that she focused more on the fighting. Matt might be able to like defeat her with his editorial power, but that's not going to really win a fight. Yeah.
Her reputation's going to be fucked, but she's going to kick his ass.
Absolutely. Yes, she's going to win the fight, but she will lose the war.
Good game. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations, Emily, for winning. Adrian, Corey, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. We really appreciate you guys coming on and chatting kick-ass with us. Before you go, why don't you plug your podcast?
Yeah, so first and foremost, just want to thank you guys for having us on. It was a blast. And just, I want to say this podcast kicks ass.
Thank you.
But if you're looking for something else dynamic where we constantly make fun of one of our four co-hosts, we upload every Monday. Our podcast is called Culture Shocked, and of course we are just four aging millennials who talk pop culture. I believe the last one we recorded was Dragon Ball Z, so that was a lot of fun.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and you can check us out every Monday.
All right, well, next week, we are very happy to have Dylan back with us. We'll be watching a British dramedy called Another Year.
Sharp pivot from Kick-Ass.
I know, right? I don't even know what I'm expecting, though.
Well, before we go, Adrian, I'm going to have you in your best Daniel Day-Lewis impersonation give us I Drink Your Podcast, I Drink It Up.
I drink your podcast. I drink it right up.
It's not bad.
Corey, you want to try to top that?
Not bad.
Who can top that shit? Who can top that shit?
Who can top that shit?
I was going to. Till you did that.
Ain't nobody gonna top that shit. Mid 2010 Aziz Ansari.
Yes. I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Love it. Love it. Follow us at IDYP_podcast and follow Culture Shocked at
CS Podcast 21 on Twitter.
Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
I was like making it up.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.